This is the Besotted Pride of West London podcast, and I'm Billy Grant here, and I'm actually recording this podcast at the airport. As you know, if you've listened to the previous podcast on Pride of West London, after the Wales game, I came home from Qatar back to London. I had to look after the Panthers. The Barnet Panthers had a cup game at the weekend as well, which I coached, which we won as well. Came back from 2-1 down at half-time to win 5-2. And also I hung out with the family for a week as well, and I watched the game, the Senegal game with my daughter, which was wonderful because she's not very happy that I've actually gone off to Qatar by myself and I haven't taken her. Anyway, I was keeping my fingers crossed that England win, as I booked a flight back over 6 months ago to see England in the quarterfinals. Fingers crossed, and they're there after a stunning win against Senegal. The last podcast we dropped was after the Wales game, and the England fans were gearing themselves up for the Senegal match there. The podcast actually reflects on the fans' feelings before the match and also their thoughts after the game. Again, you'll catch that on prideofwest.london. But on this podcast, what have we got going on this podcast? We're going to hear from Kirsty Payne and Andy. They're both on the radio, and they're live and direct from the stadium before the Senegal match as well. Then after the game, we go over to actors Ralph Brown and Jenny Jules. They're England fans who actually decided to watch the game at a bar in Senegal. We've also got Spanish Dave, Marc and Reg, all giving us the post-match lowdown from the Brazil versus South Korea pre-match party in Qatar. I also chat to Darren from a pub in London straight after the Senegal game. But first of all, let's check out what myself and Kirsty said on BBC Radio 4 on the morning of the Senegal game.
Let us take you to the football to look back on last night and to look ahead, because England have a battle against France to come this Saturday now that they are through to the quarterfinals. Last night's 3-0 win was witnessed by Kirsty Payne, an England fan who is in Qatar and was at the match last night. And we're also joined by another England fan, Billy Grant, who watched here but has been in Qatar and is hoping to get back there. Morning to you both.
Morning.
Good morning.
Hey.
Kirsty, brilliant that you were able to see it last night. What was the atmosphere like in the stadium?
It was absolutely electric, as you can imagine. There was a tense 20 minutes or so, half an hour at the beginning of the game. And I have to say, after the second goal went in, it's one of the most relaxing England games in the World Cup I've ever been to.
Are you going to be able to stay? Are you hoping to get to the France game?
I'm really hoping to. I have a lovely friend, Sarah, who has offered to manage things at home, logistical issues with mothers and dogs and things. So I'm hoping to be able to stay on, and we will start, well, we have started to hunt for tickets.
Okay. And how difficult do you think that's going to be? How does it work? Is it all very, organised and official, or are there ticket touts?
No. To be fair, in this World Cup, it's all been very organised and official. And I think the introduction of digital tickets has made a difference to that. There's no real physical tickets. Apart from some of the local people have physical tickets. But we're logging on to the FIFA website. There's a really good resale site where people put their tickets back in. So we're on there constantly. Keep looking. It might be right down to the wire. It might be on the day. Who knows? But we're going to do our very, very best.
And Billy, you're hoping to get back to Qatar for this game?
I'm not hoping. I didn't. I was touching wood here now, actually, because I didn't want to say when I spoke to you yesterday that I actually already had a flight booked. So I booked my flight about 6 months ago to go back to Qatar. And so I'm actually flying back on Wednesday to go back there as well. Ironically, actually, because I spoke to Kirsty yesterday, because I do the Besotted podcast, which is prideofwest.london as well. And we did a sort of changing rooms moment where Kirsty was in London, I was in Qatar, and then she's come over to Qatar, I was in London. So I actually interviewed her in London, being in Qatar, pre-match for the podcast there, which is wicked. Listen to that as well. So it's quite funny hearing Kirsty on the other end of the line. But yeah, I came home for a week because I coach a team called Barnet Panthers as well. So I coached them at the weekend, and then I went to see the family, and I made the gamble because I thought, tell you something, England, I believe, are a next level up. And I thought that if I watch the group games, because the group games are always the best games. I had a great 2 weeks in Qatar, had 2 weeks out there as well. And I thought, let me fly home. I'm quite happy to miss the 16s game because I believe that they should win that. And then I can come back for the quarters and stay all the way to the end. So it was a bit of a gamble, but it looks like it's a gamble that's paid off. So I was sitting there watching the game in the cold while Kirsty was watching it in the warm yesterday.
Okay, I love the optimism all the way to the end. I hope you're right. Billy Grant, Kirsty Payne, thank you both very much.
So the tension is building. Fans have been making their way down to the stadium. The advice is to get to the ground early as it takes forever to get into the ground. Kirsty and Andy gave us the lowdown from outside the stadium.
Hi Billy, it's Andy and Kirsty here, direct from the Al Bayt Stadium in Qatar. We're here about an hour before the kickoff, the big kickoff tonight with Senegal. I have to say, the atmosphere is incredibly strange. There are many England shirts here, but in terms of England fans who've travelled from England or the UK, not so convinced, to be honest. Not a lot of songs and that just yet, but we'll see what happens. It's a very nice family atmosphere and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, over to Kirsty. Let's just hope we win tonight. Over to Kirsty.
Hi Billy, here we are outside the stadium. We're about to go in. Very nervous, as always, before a big game like this. All we can do is hope for the best, and please play your heart out for us, boys. See you on the other side, Billy. Cheers.
The match is over. England have cruised it 3-0. Celebrations all around. We always have fans in the thick of the action, no more so than actors Ralph and Jenny, who decided to jet off and watch the World Cup in Senegal, as you do. Unbeknown to them at the time that England would actually be playing Senegal. They had a wonderful time by all accounts. But anyway, let's listen to what Ralph and Jenny had to say in a bar in Senegal.
This is Ralph. I'm here with Jenny in downtown Dakar, where we've just watched England beat Senegal 3-0, and we are in Le Viking. If I've mispronounced that wrong, Salma will tell me. I'm with Salma, who runs the place. Hi Salma.
Hi.
How was your evening today in the World Cup?
I'm not happy, but for Senegal, I don't know. Je peux parler français.
Un peu, yeah, and I'll translate.
Je suis pas très contente, mais comme Sénégal a perdu, je suis sénégalaise. Mais je félicite beaucoup l'équipe anglaise. Ils ont bien joué comme les Sénégalais, mais on n'a pas eu la chance comme les Anglais.
C'est dommage.
C'est dommage, c'est vraiment dommage. Mais félicitations aux Anglais quand même.
Thank you.
Parce que
Congratulations to England. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, madam. So my rudimentary French tells me that she said she was very unhappy that Senegal lost today. She's a big fan of Senegal, obviously, but she also said that she thought England played very well, and that she has always enjoyed English culture and English people when they come here to watch sport in her bar in Dakar. We were the only two English people in this bar tonight. That was absolutely rammed full of mainly French people, mainly white French people, but there were also some Senegalese too, all the bar staff and their friends as well. And the deafening silence when Henderson scored the first goal was only broken by my wife Jenny leaping to her feet and screaming at the top of her voice, as did I. And I then offered cheers to everybody in the pub, and they all graciously acknowledged, with one exception, who said he was supporting Senegal. I said, yes, well, everyone in here is supporting Senegal, but anyway, we celebrated the second goal with equal enthusiasm, and the third goal we just clapped, because by then it was starting to look like it might be embarrassing for Senegal. In the end it wasn't. I think they were tired. They were certainly outplayed. England looked very good going forward, and we killed the game really in the second half after the third goal, and didn't keep chasing it. So France on Saturday. What do you reckon, Jenny?
Absolutely. That's going to be a harder game. Have France played a decent team yet in this tournament? We don't know. I thought today against Senegal we would have a game, but I was really disappointed that Senegal didn't come for us, as it were. I wanted it to be much more competitive. I wanted there to be much more passion. I wanted them to leave everything on the field. But I understand there's no Sadio Mane, there's no Kouyaté, there's no Gana Gueye, and I think that they would have made a difference to this team.
Absolutely. And we were both in the fan park back last Tuesday, which is on the beach, on the Corniche, on the west side of Dakar, facing the Atlantic, with the Atlantic breakers pounding in on the rocks behind the big screen, and thousands of white butterflies flying across the screen, making it, excuse me, very difficult to see the ball sometimes. And I guess 5,000 Senegalese, and once again a couple of English, Jenny and I, really enjoyed that. It was electric, the atmosphere against Ecuador, and they outplayed Ecuador and were very physical and very organised, and Ecuador, who are a very good side, couldn't really cope with Senegal. So we thought we'd be in for a game today. I think we coped very well with what Senegal had to offer, and they didn't really cope very well with what we had to offer going forward. So lots of love from Dakar. Shame that Senegal are out. We didn't want to be playing them at this point. We wanted both teams to be moving forward, because we're here in Senegal to watch the World Cup, because we didn't fancy Qatar. Jenny and I have been to the last 7 World Cups together, and I think we just wanted a break from World Cupism, and we fancied coming here because they're a football mad nation, and we thought we'd follow the World Cup from here. It's been amazing, but a bit of a sad night for us. Mixed blessings, obviously. Very happy England have got through, and we've got to deal with Mbappe now.
Yep. Yeah, that will be difficult. We had everyone was very gracious in this pub tonight in the Viking, except this one German person who just said, effing England. And Ralph and I decided not to rise to the bait, because clearly he was the sore loser.
Yeah. He said, everyone else said cheers. He went, no cheers, no cheers. So, no cheers. There you go. Billy, God bless, mate. Hope you're enjoying Qatar. Lots of love from Ralph and Jenny.
Love you, miss
Here
you.
in Dakar.
Yep.
Senegal. Come on, the England.
Come on, England.
Back in Qatar, the crew have now had a few days off, and they're basking in the knowledge that they can relax and really enjoy the next few days watching other matches, knowing England had reached the next round. We catch up with them at the Brazil versus South Korea pre-match party, and that's Spanish Dave, that's Reg, and that's Marc.
Looking ahead to the France game, maybe before we go back about the game last night, what you're saying, Marc, is you're worrying about the 2 wingers for France, Mbappe and Dembele, and how we're going to cope with them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't help feeling that if we can win the midfield battle, then obviously you fancy our chances. We're looking good going forward. If they start camping in our half of the pitch, and if we can't win that midfield battle, then how do we cope with Dembele and Mbappe in the wide areas? And that sense that we're a little bit slow at the back, they've got pace, trickery, it could get messy if we let them get on top and spend too much time in that part of the pitch. But like we were saying just before, I mean, there is this sense that he's been training the team over the last couple of games, really. When you look back on it now, and the fact that our fullbacks are not charging forward too much, and we're being patient, we're sitting back, and it's almost like he's trying to get used to the fact that in the game against France we can't do that. We've got to keep our shape at the back, we've got to be quick and decisive when we go forward, and we can't leave holes for Dembele and Mbappe to take advantage if we push too far with the pitch.
It's become an effective way for England to play, and like you're saying, learning from past possible mistakes. So the last 2 big games we've had at tournaments, the Euros final, and then the at Wembley, and then the Russia semi-final, getting an early goal, which is great, but we're not able to hold on because we can't play like that. But now, like you're saying, holding on, slowly building and not going gung-ho, getting an early goal, but slowly building, and then it's not very inspirational football. And last night, at some point, about 40 minutes in, people were getting a bit irritated in the crowd, but then all of a sudden a quick change of pace, and before you know it, we're 2-0 up.
Yeah,
and that seems to be becoming our trademark to a certain extent, especially in the last 3 games. You know, even against USA, like we were, they were slightly better at defending against us, and we didn't really get into the game, but we did control the game well.
Yeah, and it's that sense of patience, isn't it? I mean, again, there was a bit of booing after the USA game, and at half-time, I think after the Wales game, which was a bit frustrating after the first half of the Wales game. But there's that sense that we're learning that we have to be patient, we don't want to waste too much energy when we don't have to, and it doesn't matter too much, you know, if you draw 0-0 against USA and you've won your first game and you qualify, so be it. It doesn't matter. The key thing is this is a tournament, and there's a real sense of experience and professionalism about it. I mean,
you're building momentum, aren't you, all the time at a tournament?
Yeah, and also, if you think about it logically, as fans, we want to see loads of goals, we want to see exciting play for 90 minutes, but the more you put that energy into the first 3, 4, 5 games, where you don't have to, the more you're going to tire when you come up against the proper, really difficult games like, let's say, France, Spain, Brazil, if we got all the way. You're going to be knackered after playing those 3 teams just on their own.
Exactly, and it is still warm out here. You know, even at night, the late kick-off, it's a lot cooler than during the day, but you're still 20 odd degrees, 24, 25. To run around for 90 minutes as an Englishman who plays in the Premier League, it's not what we're used to.
No.
Conserving that energy early on in the tournament will hopefully bode well as the tournament goes on.
Yeah, and you know what, I mean, okay, we aren't exciting people for 90 minutes, but when we get going and we go forward, we are incredibly entertaining and incredibly good in the passing play. I mean, some of the goals last night, fantastic movement, fantastic play, and really quick, really decisive, good goals. And it's just in spurts, isn't it?
Yeah, which is fine. 3 goals. Would we expected to score 3 goals last night against Senegal?
It's interesting because when I was interviewed by the local TVs out here, I predicted 2-1 because I've had that cautiousness because of the things that you're saying, and we are probably pacing it a bit. You know, people might be thinking that they're getting a bit frustrated during the game, but you know what? The tactic works. And at this point in the proceedings, we've got to win or we're going home.
Simple as. Yeah.
There's no argument about that. And I think we need to sharpen defence maybe a little bit more against France, because I think they could rip us apart if we're not careful. Yeah. Would you agree with that?
I agree, but they do need to get the ball of us, and at the moment we're holding the ball well. You know, again, it's not inspirational football, moving it left to right along the back 4, back 5, but Spain do it. You know, not always successfully Spain do it, but they keep hold of the ball really well. You know, you create something slowly. You know, the other team can't play without the ball.
Yeah, and I can't help feeling as well that we sometimes need to be appreciative of what we're seeing. I mean, you know, I would guess we're the top goal scorers at this tournament now. I mean, we scored 12 goals in 4 games, is it? I don't really look to the tables, but I can't think of anyone else who's done that. So, you know, what more do the team need to do to make the fans happy? We've conceded 2 goals. We've only conceded in 1 of the games.
Yeah.
And we scored 12.
Yeah, we haven't lost the game.
Yeah. You know, just because we haven't entertained like Brazil did in that game where Richarlison scored the overhead kick and whatever else, but even they've not been as spectacular and sparkling in the other 2 games.
It'd be interesting, you know, as we sit here at the Brazil Fan Fest party, you know, with all the Brazilians around us, it'd be interesting to see how they go today.
Yeah, what their sort of expectations are of their team. You know, do they want to be excited, entertained, or do they just want to get to the quarter-final?
I'm sure right now they'll be happy with just a 1-0 win and go through into the next round. You know, because that's where they want to be. They want to keep winning and going through like we do.
Yeah,
you know? And obviously they'd love for their team to be playing the samba football of old, but they also, from recent years, how they've lost some big games in the World Cups and that, they're probably thinking that we just want to get through now.
Yeah, and the few locals that we've spoken to since last night and today, I mean, it's only a couple of people, only a handful of people, but people are just going, oh, you look good, England look good, good performance. So, you know, maybe as fans, we're always expecting that we want to be a team that everyone's talking about for the exciting, attacking, entertaining football, but actually it's about winning a tournament and being effective, and the Germans never worried about what people said about them, did they?
No, not at all. And we spoke about Greece earlier this morning at breakfast, how they won that Euros, you know, 1-0 here, 1-0 there, and you know, almost like scraping through games, but their name's on that trophy at the end of the day. And the Greeks, you won't get the Greeks moaning about winning the Euros. They know they're champions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or were champions, sorry. History shows that their names on the cup.
Yeah, there's definitely a sense of you've got to learn how to win tournaments, and for God knows how many years we haven't been able to learn how to do that.
And unfortunately, we know that well from following the team away, here, there, and everywhere. That it's very rare that we're still in at this point.
Yeah, and quarter-final, semi-final, final in the last 3 tournaments is becoming
expectation.
It's becoming a nice problem to have, isn't it?
Very much so.
How we go about getting to these parts of a tournament. And it's something in God knows how many years before that just wasn't even a concern for us, was it?
No, we've talked about it many a time how we've turned up in Brazil or we've turned up in South Africa and a couple of games in and we're already out, and it's like we're going home and we haven't even experienced the World Cup yet.
Yeah, and apart from anything else, we've got another week now, haven't we?
We have got another week of the sunshine.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, back in freezing London, I spoke to Darren straight after the Senegal match to get thoughts from back at home. Vibes tonight as well. So England are through to the quarter-finals of the World Cup. We've been watching it. We've got characters all over the world been watching it. Characters watching it in Qatar. Characters watching it in Senegal. We've been watching this in the UK. I'll come back for a few days. I didn't really want to talk too much about it because I didn't want to jinx it, but touching wood now. But now that it's all good now, as you know, I'm going to be going back in a few days back to Qatar to go and watch England the semi-final against France. But listen, I'll be watching this game with my man Darren in the house, North London style E, as they say. And again, I'm going to say this game was never in doubt, though, was it? Or was it?
I don't know. I think, the first sort of 10 minutes or so, I think Senegal actually started quite strong. And it wasn't necessarily a done deal, let's put it that way.
No.
But then I think England started feeling their way into the game, started finding a few gaps in the Senegalese defence. They put a couple of crosses in from the left that, a few players, maybe should have been a bit further forward for. But then they really did find they exposed Senegal, to be fair, Hendo's finish for the first goal was very, very good, late arrived into the box. He really made a difference for England tonight, I really thought. And then, the next 2 goals were really good finishes, and fair play to England. They exposed Senegal, like I said. They took the most of the chances, but Pickford, to be fair, did get England out of a pickle in the first, I don't know when it was, first 20 minutes or so. It was such a good save. Instinctively, flicked the hand up, saved it and all the rest of it. At that point, Maguire and Stones were looking a little bit dodgy, I have to say.
Leaden-footed.
A little bit leaden-footed, it's absolutely right to say. But fair play to England, they did a job and they did the next round very, very safely. What I would probably say is that maybe tactically there should have been a little bit more kind of introduction of other players into the field of play, give people a little bit of run around. At 3-0, you want to rest your best players, keep them fresh for big France. Basically,
Harry Kane was the one that you would. I'm saying, let's just say it as it is. You're a little bit perturbed because there's been a lot of talk when I was in Qatar last week. We thought Harry Kane was injured.
Right.
Now we're thinking that if he's playing him all this match, he obviously isn't injured, or he thinks he can ride through that injury.
Yeah, there must be some sort of deal going on where Harry Kane wants to score as many goals as possible in this tournament, and Gareth Southgate said, "Yeah, okay, Harry, okay," and is not doing the tactical thing like he did with not starting Rashford, who arguably may have scored a couple of goals tonight if he'd started from minute 0.
But there's a reason why Rashford didn't play, because he had to. Well, there's not a reason why Rashford didn't play, but we know the reason why Rashford didn't play, because he wanted to switch it up a bit, didn't he?
Which is fair enough as well. Keep your opposition guessing all the time. But the likes of Kane could have done with maybe a bit of a rest, especially if he's carrying a knock. It was good for Kane to obviously get a goal tonight.
Yes.
Absolutely brilliant for him. Really, really pleased for him. But otherwise, it was the chance to bring the likes of Callum on and give him some minutes and give him some confidence. and build him up just in case, Harry Kane gets injured before or during the next match against France. Who are you going to bring on in his place? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And just looking at the side that we had today as well today, I mean, we're talking about changing things up. We're talking about different scenario because we've got like different situations and we've got like a player who is very important to us. I mean, obviously, we've already had one player go home. He's gone home because he's had a personal issue.
Yes.
And then we've got a second personal issue as well with Sterling. He's gone home as well, which has obviously taken everyone by surprise. But this could be, the word is that Sterling has had to go home because his home got robbed by some armed robbers with his family in the house. He's going to go home to sort the situation out. And if he believes that everything is okay, he's going to rejoin the England camp. Now, first, obviously, it's family first. So there's no guarantee that Sterling's going to come back. This potentially could be a big blow to England, isn't it?
It could be, yeah. Sterling has been a real good tournament player for England since, I guess, 2014, as the earliest I remember it. So he is a real blow. Even if he's not starting, he's a real good squad player, experienced player, knows his way around, had a great Euros recently. So if he's not there, that's a big blow for England. So really, really hope that the situation gets sorted out, that everyone's okay, obviously back home, and he can get his arse back out there.
Talking about getting the arse back out there, if he gets it back out there, it's going to be against France. We saw France today, and France picked apart the Poles. And 3 goals they scored today. Mbappe was on fire, as they say. Your defence is terrified. But then there's an argument to say that the Poles' defence was obviously terrified to actually do any pressing or anything on the French people today. You know what I'm saying? So we're looking at France now. I'm going to touch wood here, big time, because I like to touch the old wood. France in Russia, I thought, were a wicked side. And France now, to me, aren't the same side that they were then. And I think they are, and it's been shown, because obviously they've already been beaten in this tournament. They are beatable. Yeah. What do you think, England coming against France?
As you say, France are vulnerable. There's a certain way of playing against them to nullify them. Albeit in the match we're talking about that they lost, they didn't necessarily have their strongest team out. However,
until they brought them on later on.
And they did, to be fair, they did. So there is a way of playing against, a really, really good player like Mbappe. And I'm sure it'll be covered in all the analysis in the week. I'm sure we'll be all sick of it, in the lead up to this game. But the way of playing against a player like Mbappe is someone gets really tight to him, someone like Walker, for example, and someone, covers in behind. So you basically have to double up on him. It's the only way. You got to try and literally kick him out of the game a little bit. Other than him, you have to say that, France don't have that much, I have to say. I'm not that
impressed.
Players
that can do stuff, they're a little bit...
But in the Premier League, our players, England, are used to playing against those kind of players and know how to play against them. And the system that France have got, they've not been that convincing all the way through the tournament, I have to say. So there are ways of working France out. There are ways of playing against them. The thing is, you've got to find a balance between going defensive against France and trying to nullify the likes of Mbappe and making sure you actually go for, trying to nick a goal, trying to, go on the attack, go on the offensive. France are vulnerable, so I really hope that England do go for it.
All in all, very, very positive vibes coming from the England camp. As Marc said, England are possibly the highest goal scorers. I say possibly because I haven't done the maths yet, because literally I've been jumping on and off buses and trains and I haven't actually done that as yet. But I think they're the highest goal scorers, even after the matches last night in the competition. They've only conceded in one match, and that was against Iran. They've only conceded in one match, and that was against Iran. And they're not relying on one person finding the back of the net, with plenty of players knowing exactly where the back of the net is. Listen, big game coming up. We've got France coming up. I'm going to be back in Qatar. I'm going via I'm going via Larnaca, and then I'm going to Beirut, and then I'm going to be back in Qatar at about 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to meet up with my chums. More people have turned up as well. Apparently Obi's there as well. I think Geordie John's on his way out there as well. Like, you know what I'm saying? So there's a few of the old posse that are there in Russia. If you've actually checked any of the old podcasts and videos as well, they're all going to be out there, which is all good. So I'm looking forward to hooking up with them, having a few days chill before we get into the big game. Don't forget to subscribe on all good podcast channels, and also don't forget to buy us a beer, besotted.com/beer if you like what we do as well. Don't forget to write us a lovely review as well on iTunes and any of the other podcast places where you can write reviews. But my name is Billy Grant. I'm about to get on this flight back to Qatar. Thanks for listening, everybody, and I will catch up with you hopefully very, very soon.